Hello class, thanks for tuning in today. This is lesson 3.1, 3.2 handout. We actually had this before we started distance learning, but I did update it and add some more definitions that I think will help you. This handout will also be very helpful for you in lessons to come. So please refer back to this video, or I've also linked just the PDF handout as well. Alright, so our first vocab word is congruent. It is really just a fancy word for saying equal. This is the symbol that represents congruent, and notice that it even has an equal sign in it with just a little squiggle on top. Transversal, that would be like this purple line in this diagram. Transversal really just means a line that cuts through two other lines. And there could be more than just two lines, but it's really just that line that cuts through. Corresponding angles, those really mean the same position. So in our diagram, you have the two black dots here. I'm going to do some more corresponding angles. This purple angle and this purple angle are also corresponding. Here's another set. These two green angles. And then here's the last set, these two blue angles. Those are all corresponding angles, and they are equal if these two lines are parallel. The next one, alternate interior angles. Those two are also equal if the lines are parallel, and as you can see, the two black dots is an example, and then these two blue dots that I'm coloring in here, that is another example. Really, the word alternate means on the opposite side of the transversal. And the word interior, you can think of like inside those two parallel lines. So again, opposite sides of the transversal and inside the parallel lines. Alternate exterior, kind of similar to our last one. So alternate means on the opposite sides of the transversal. And then this word exterior means like on the outside of our two parallel lines. So in our picture, we've got the two black dots. The other pair are these two blue angles that I'm coloring in. And similarly, they are also equal if the two lines are parallel. Consecutive interior angles. So that would be between the lines. So interior, again, means inside. So inside those two parallel lines. And then consecutive means on the same side of the transversal. So as you can see in our picture, the two black dots, the other set are these two blue angles that I just colored in. And now these have a different property. So if these two lines here are parallel, our consecutive interior angles actually add to 180 degrees. So it means like this blue angle and this blue angle, if I add them together, it will equal 180 degrees. A linear pair. Now a linear pair, you don't necessarily need these two lines to be parallel. Really what a linear pair means is that they're just two angles that are right next to each other and they form a straight line. So naturally then, if they form a straight line, they add to 180 degrees. There are many sets of linear pair on our example here. These two blue lines, or blue dots, that is a linear pair. Here's another pair. And then actually this and this angle also form a linear pair. And then we've got several more down below here. So these two are a linear pair. These two are a linear pair. You've got these two that are a linear pair. So there's quite a few sets just in this one example. Supplementary angles. Those are two or more angles that add up to 180 degrees. So our linear pair is also an example of supplementary because they add to 180 degrees. We also talked about the word, and this is not on your handout because we won't be using it much, but complementary angles, and those angles add to 90 degrees. So they add to 90. And again, we won't be using that in the next several lessons, so that's why I didn't put it on this sheet. All right, adjacent angles, they really just mean two angles that are next to each other. They are touching each other. So again, in our example, there's many different pairs. These are next to each other. These two angles are next to each other. So anything that are just touching. And then our last word for today is vertical angles. And those are two angles that are directly opposite each other. So I'm identifying more pairs on our sheet. And these two are also vertical. And the important thing about vertical angles is that they will always be equal. All right, thanks for joining us today, and see you next time.